that song to me is appropriate in many different ways. One, because of the speaking of the change in the seasons, and we've just gone through that, and we're moving into a season where I don't know, I try to figure out what is my favorite season. But you know, that kind of changes. There's certain things about fall I like. I don't like it getting colder, but I do love the colors. You know, and everything's going off to kind of melt back into the earth, and so it can become new again. And then the God within me, and my talk being about intuition, is, what is intuition? It's the God seeking to know itself, as Reverend Bowen read in the reading. And it's getting to know itself through us. And so my title of my talk actually is Listen to Your Gut, which I like that, because it is so, I mean, that's so real. And like the theme for the month is global transformation through individual transformation. So as we transform, so goes the world, hopefully.
Yeah.
Just like, you know, love and anything else, it all has to come from us first, each individual. It's like my theme song is, you know, life is an inside job. So it comes from within. And so listening to your gut is something that kind of really gets me. It's listening to that still small voice within, which is the divine, which we sometimes don't pay attention to. Well, intuition, first of all, is the ability to there's many definitions, but I chose these because I like them. Intuition is the ability to understand immediately without the need for conscious reasoning. And it's also you can acquire knowledge without proof. You just know. Your intuition is telling you, you know that that's the truth. And so this expression of listening to your gut is something that I always believe that because growing up it was always said a woman's intuition. Nobody ever said that men had intuition, and so I thought, you know, I can't have intuition because I'm not a woman. Well, in practitioner studies, I found that that's not true. You know, I might have learned it somewhere else, but that's where it actually came to hit home. And the idea that each one of us have that still small voice, that intuition, that we know, we can tell in our gut. Because when something's going to happen in my life, in certain things, it always hits me in the solar plexus. Other people, things come to them like, you know, maybe in their head or their heart but it's always here for me. And it's taken me many years to actually listen to it, to take heed of what's being said, and to go on, to move on with it. Intuition is God in humans, revealing to us the realities of being. And also, intuition waits. It doesn't come out and, you know, slam you with that proverbial 2x4, but it's patient. It sits and waits. It waits until we're ready to listen. But we have to be ready and willing to listen. That's what anything in life. I mean, like, when I quit drinking, when I quit smoking, changing diet for diabetes, all this stuff, you have to be willing to do these things. Because willing, to me, I found with the drinking and the smoking, well, I think I have to take it back. With everything I've had to change, it's the willingness to live. And I got to the point with the drinking that I knew that I was going to end up in either dead a prison, or possibly a mental institution. And those three choices were not necessarily, they weren't on my top, my top 10 list. And then with the smoking, I could tell, excuse me, I could tell what it was doing to my lungs. I mean, I could feel it. And my mother died from emphysema. However, it took me 10 years, almost 10 years after she died, to finally have that desire to quit. I mean, she was less than 80 pounds when she died. And she originally was 5'6". So, I mean, she was, but, look, I could see that example, and I could read about it and hear about it, and I saw other people, but, the desire wasn't there, or it wasn't strong enough. Because I tried all these different things, and finally something happened, and I haven't had anything to smoke since, what, it was 98. So that's, and I'm alive. My lungs kind of, sometimes they act up, but but the desire for life, the desire for listening to our internal voice. And there's some quotes I wanted to read from the Science of Mind. The Science of Mind got big reviews this week, I guess. Sometimes that book is can be a little, when I first read it, oh my God. It's a big book, and it can be kind of heavy. But once you've gone through it a few times, and you go through and you pick out certain parts, it can be easier if you just take little chunks. And one quote is, we comprehend the infinite only to the degree that it expresses itself through us. So we can only really know God as much as we allow ourselves to know it. Becoming to us that which we believe it to be. And so we do daily practice in our meditations, the realizations of life. And those are infinite, indwelling spirit within me, Almighty God within me, perfect peace within me, complete satisfaction within me, real substance within me, that which is the truth within me. So there's many things we can call it. Sometimes, because God is a four-letter word to some people. There's only three. But you can find different things that describes, because what is like, to many people God is love, and that's what it is to me. So you can use love. You can use any of these things. Right here, through our own nature, is the gateway and the path that gradually leads to illumination, to realization, to inspiration, to the intuitive perception of everything. And that says, I like the part where it says, through our own nature. That intuitive nature, through us, all these things we can awaken to, we can be, awakened to, I like that. We can open our eyes and our hearts. And the highest faculty in humans is intuition. And it comes to a point sometimes where with no process of reasoning at all, we realize the truth intuitively. We should daily meditate, particularly if we are practicing right along. If it works for you, meditation is good. That's why the should, I try not to use the word should, but that was a quote. So. I don't tell people they should do anything. It's up to them. I can offer suggestions. Each of us, we can offer suggestions. And that's part of this living, this life, is because we're on this merry-go-round together. Merry-go-round, roller coaster, whatever day it may be. One day it may be a roller coaster, one day it may be a nice little merry-go-round. And some days If you're on the merry-go-round, you may just want to sit in that bench. For a nice, easy, smooth ride. You know, it all depends, and that's why we're in this together, and it's something that I think I forget sometimes, especially when it comes to asking for assistance or help or maybe sometimes opinions. I don't really ask for a lot of advice because I personally don't like to give advice. I will, like in AA, one thing about it I really love is we share our experience, strength, and hope that others might, you know, come to find that. It's not, we can just tell you how we did it. And if that works for you, and that's just like any religion. That's when I first came to the Center for Spiritual Living at Sand Point. It was so, I don't want to say earth-shaking, but in a way it was. The things that were talked about offering, you know, thanks for other religions, for taking certain things from other religions around the world. And I thought, whoa, I'm not crazy, because I asked questions many times in my life. You know, if we're this big religion and we're supposed to be the quote-unquote one true religion, why in the heck are all these other ones around? But they're there for a purpose. It's what works for you, what works for the individual. And the minister there said a lot of times, which I really thought was perfect, that we'd like you to make this your spiritual home. However, if it doesn't feel right, I hope you find a spiritual home. Now, don't quote me on that because it could be a little different wording, but yes, I believe a spiritual home and a practice is important. Like I said early on with wherever you choose to connect with the divine. And sometimes, you know, that can be like, nature is a fantastic place to connect with the divine. Personally, I love Green Lake. That's one of my favorite places because you got all these people. And I never talk to anybody around Green Lake. Well, unless I run into somebody that I actually know. But it's more, the first time I did it, with a conscious thing of making eye contact. Because that sometimes is challenging for me. And I know it's challenging for a lot of people. But it's amazing when you do that with people. It's that you connect with that inner person, that divine self. And sometimes you get people that just, you know, turn away real quick because they don't know what to do. Or they out of fear, possibly, because we have a lot of fear. Or you get this little smile, just this recognition, you know, that they realize that they were recognized and they're recognizing you. And that's, I think, to me, one of the best things to do to connect with that divine. Is find the spot, find the place. If it's a building, if it's a home, if it's walking down the street. It's something that it is our intuitive nature to want to connect with something. And connecting with other people is another way of doing this. Connecting in different groups, in communities like this, or like that movie last night. There's so many different ways you can connect. Like I realize I have a lot of different communities. And they're in a sense, they have pretty much the same theme, I realize it. Because we gravitate toward people who think like us, who maybe act like us. Because I'm not going to walk into a place that's doing something totally opposite what I believe in. Theoretically, I won't. Not consciously, anyway. And so, we're not limited to just the five senses. Because intuition it's a sense. It's a sense, it's an inherent sense that develops within us. I think it takes time And it takes time to trust that intuition. Because sometimes you think, okay. And one place I find that intuition a lot of times comes up, and that's when I'm meditating or contemplating something. When I'm still, I have a question, maybe a deep question, maybe not such a deep question, but you sit there and you're contemplating, and this little voice says something. And you go, what? I think Reverend Vaughn last week in his talk referred to something on that order, and I was saying that when the call to ministry came, it's like, oh, I don't think so. And it's like, I told him when it came, I told him that, you know, something's come up, but I'm not saying it yet. Because I know what happens when you speak it. And you don't really have to speak it. You know, it's already done in the mind. You know, if it's done in the mind, it's done. And finally when I, you know, felt, I guess, comfortable, then it came out and, oh, it wasn't so bad. It was kind of scary for a while. But I knew, even through all of the years of classes and stuff, I held this knowingness that it was already done. That there were just these steps you have to go through. Sometimes they felt like hoops of fire. Sometimes they felt like a cakewalk. But there's these, you know, steps in life that we go through, and it's all on how we choose to go through it. Like somebody was asking, last week we were at a Toastmasters potluck for my group, and one of the people had heard that I was a minister and was asking about the center here. And I was telling her that I just forgot what I was going to say. It just came in and went right out. So if it's important, it'll be back. That's what I love about the mind. The mind is it can recall itself. I mean, it's an unbelievable thing. And there's different ways that people get in touch with their intuition. And there's one thing, it's that when they listen to that still small voice, that to me is my way of listening to it. I'm still. And sometimes I'm not quite still. I'll have the question in my mind, and the seed, so the seed is kind of planted. And as you're going through the week or the day doing stuff, and I do a lot of stuff alone because I don't work at a job, so a lot of stuff that I'm busy doing is alone work. And in a lot of ways that's good because I'm moving along doing, you know, busy work. And that seed has been planted, and all of a sudden something, you know, pop in. It's like these little what were those candies?
It's Pop Rocks.
Yeah.
Oh.
And they, you know, they pop, and sometimes they're fantastic little pops. And other times they're like, oh, okay. And they ignore that one. And that's probably, the one you ignore is probably the one you probably shouldn't listen to. Because I realize in life, and I've heard, before I realized it, before I accepted it, that usually your first choice, your first decision is the right one. But why do we change it? Because we doubt. We doubt ourselves, we doubt our own intuition. And so I've learned that, okay, what was the first thing that came up? And, you know, 9 times out of 10, or maybe more often, that was the right one, the right way to go. And people, you know, they take time away for solitude, like I said, meditation, walks in nature, whatever, just to be alone, away from the rat race, away from traffic, away from people, just to be alone with nature and the divine. And a big thing is listen to your body. The body is a fantastic thing. The mind is fantastic, but the body talks. I've learned that many times. Louise Hay, her book, which I really dislike a lot of times. You Can Heal Yourself, I think is that the name of it?
Live your life.
Oh, here, and then there's all these symptoms, you know, like with your, say, with, your eyesight or your back or this, and you go in there and say, suggestions what might be going on, might be, you know, wrong, and every time I say, oh, I hate that. Because 9 times out of 10, it's true, it fits quite well. So, we need to listen to our bodies, and that's intuition. I mean, it's that intuitive knowing that your body is telling you, okay, you really should not eat that stuff, you know, because it's giving this to you. Or gout, like for instance, I get the gout. And I know one thing that I can be guaranteed, if I eat shrimp, the next morning, my big toe will be killing me.
Oh, wow.
And it's, you know, and I have not done that for I don't even know how many years now, because I choose not to go through, you know, that suffering. I don't need that suffering in my life. And even though I do like shrimp, there's other things to eat. So listening to our body is a great way of doing that. And connecting with others. That connection that we have, that we can connect and listen to each other. That deep listening. Without, as practitioners, we're trained to listen. Not to jump in within 5 or a couple minutes of, oh, you think you know what's going on with the person, but no, then you jump in and you say, and they say, well, that's not it, you know, you didn't let me finish. Allow the person to finish. And allow yourself to complete, you know, the conversation. Too many times, I am guilty of jumping in before I hear the full thing, or I'm guilty of interrupting people. I believe I've gotten better at interrupting people. No, not interrupting people. You know, how can I better interrupt people? You know. That's an interesting kind. That's another talk, I think. But it's true. I mean, if we allow ourselves to be heard, and we allow others to be heard, that is an amazing practice, and it's respect. It's respect for the other person. It's respect for ourselves to be heard. Because I know growing up as a kid, being told that you know kids are to be seen and not heard. That one always got my craw, and you know, you don't know anything just because you're a kid. And I found that when one experience in the coming of age program that I participated in, when I was in the background listening to these young people in a circle speak, and it came to me that that's a bunch of crap. These kids, these young people, they have such intelligence, you know, and adults just kind of push them aside. Maybe it's out of fear. Now maybe they think, you know, because the kids have advanced so much faster than as when I was a kid. It's like, whoa. I don't think I'd want to go back to first grade today. Go through it all? No, thank you, no. So we're created in a spiritual images and likeness of the Creator. And when that was done, we were imbued with a divine essence. We are created in the likeness of the divine, so that the divine can express through us. And it's amazing how many expressions there are, how many there have been, and how many more there will be. Because there's no two people alike. Identical twins are pretty close, but still, they still have their own individuality, their own imbued divine essence within them. So there's 3 points I'm suggesting for this week. Could be Stephanie's homework. That was used last week. You weren't here. Reverend Vaughn Barley said, I'm going to say it. I'm going to say the word homework. And I don't mean it in a negative way. It's actually, I think sometimes we need that. You know, we need that little bit of something to do. Because left to our own devices sometimes, we sit on the couch. The first one is to be still and know that I am God in the midst of you. Knowing that the divine lives within you. And recognize that. And take that in and say, the divine lives within me. I am that expression of the divine. And then look for and see the commonalities of thoughts and feelings that we share as evidence of this one mind. It's like they say a lot of times, great minds think alike. And the Reverend Vaughn, he suggested something. I said, I was just going to suggest that. And that happens. With people you work with people you live with a lot of times, it's the one mind. That's it. And know that at the center of your being, that there is perfect spirit. At the center of each one of us here and out there is perfect spirit. No matter what the exterior looks like, which is sometimes challenging, that the divine presence is in each one of us. Sometimes that is challenging, to look at people doing stupid, crazy, hurtful things, and just see that in that shell, that there is that divine spirit, that divine light glowing within them. To me, that's probably one of the biggest challenges that there is to see that person, especially when you're on the freeway, people aren't very nice sometimes, and know that they are love, and that they have that love. They were created in that love. I don't believe anyone was born, I don't want to say it politically correct, mean and evil. That's the way we look. That's why we look at people sometimes as mean and evil. And I don't believe anyone was born that way or created that way. Stuff has happened, but I still believe that there's got to be maybe just a glimmer, maybe a flicker of love in there, but they can't even see it. Their life has been so hard on them in some ways that they've shut that off. But if we could look at that, and in ourselves too, because sometimes we get very hard on ourselves, to realize that we have that perfect spirit within us. So just be still and know that the divine is within you. Look for the commonalities of the thoughts and know that there is one mind, that we connect with that one mind. And to know at the center of each of us, there is that perfect spirit. And so it is.